The final stretch is finally here, and we're counting the hours now until votes are tallied on Election Day, which is a perfect time for some predictions from our State of Play team of Stephanie Hansen with the law firm of Young, Conaway, Stargett and Taylor, also a former Newcastle County Council president. We're also joined by Michael Stafford. He's an attorney, also a columnist. So obviously the consensus is here in Delaware that Clinton beats Trump, and that sort of is mirrored in the statewide races for governor, for Congress as well. Can we agree on that?
Yes, I think that's probably a very safe bet.
And even separate of the Trump effect, let's call it, those statewide races, likely Democrat in such a democratically heavy state as Delaware.
I think so. I think what we'll see, though, is with this race, we'll see kind of a continuation of the schism in the Republican Party in Delaware, and maybe kind of more of a hardening of that divide that started back with the Christine O'Donnell race back in 2010, where you've got the ultra-right conservative faction, and then you've got the other Republicans. So I think that this race will be hard for the folks, the Republicans in the state of Delaware.
Yeah, I mean, it's ironic. In some ways, Christine O'Donnell really was a preview of Trump. I mean, they're alike in many ways. It's same sorts of individuals who are kind of supporting him and pushing him forward. Of course, she tanked disastrously on Election Day. Winning primaries isn't enough. I think Trump's probably going to learn the same lesson. You've got to field credible, strong candidates. Bonini is a real candidate, albeit probably not a strong one. Beyond that, and a handful of state senate or state rep candidates, there really aren't credible candidates, particularly for the statewide offices, on the ballot. So, once you get north of the canal, maybe down in Kent, Sussex, Trump actually pulls some additional support out. But here in Newcastle County, I think he's going to be a real anchor on the rest of the ticket.
So is there the Trump effect of some of his comments about women? Does that have an effect on sort of legislative races further down? Does Clinton's email controversy, does that have an effect on races down the ballot in the General Assembly? I guess depending on geography.
I think that it will depress the vote a bit, particularly the Republican vote. I think that Trump's comments is kind of galvanized the women to come out and vote a little bit more than they might otherwise, because they really don't want that. They don't want somebody in public office that believes that way. So I think that may push the women's vote out a bit more. But I think it's going to depress regular Republicans that would normally come out, who are just now, they're sort of flummoxed as to what are they going to do when they get into the voting booth.
I may be entirely wrong, but to me it seems like
it's happened before.
Once or twice. The tapes will show it. But
right.
I think Trump's core base is much more energized than Hillary's base. I think once you get out of Democratic Party operatives and a certain core group, a lot of people really don't like her as a candidate, and she comes in with a number of flaws. And I think she's going to win. I think she's going to win handily, but there is an enthusiasm gap. I mean, I think Trump's basic, that core group of supporters he has are much more riled up. For my work, I drive all over the state. I see a lot of Trump-Pence yard signs in people's yards. I don't see any Hillary Clinton Kane signs anywhere. And, yard signs don't win a race, but there is a definite enthusiasm gap. His most vocal supporters are more solidly behind him. At least that's the way it seems to me.
Okay, so if we agree that sort of John Carney will likely be the next governor of Delaware, what does the General Assembly that he has to work with look like? Democrats in majority of both houses right now. That will probably stay the same. Does it get a little bit redder or not at all?
Well, that's the question. So the Republicans do have a couple of really good first-time candidates, and Meredith Chapman's one of them, running against Dave Sokola. It's hard to see, are people in that district here in Newcastle County really going to be voting Republican in a year when the brand is so heavily damaged? I mean, at some point, if you had a commercial product, a consumer product that was just killing people left and right, at some point you stop buying the product. At some point it becomes that tainted. Is Trump that? I mean, is he that for Republicans in Delaware? He could be. I struggle to see her winning under these circumstances with nobody above her pulling people out.
Agreed. And where he's going to bring people out to vote Republican are down in Kent and Sussex where they're already Republican.
Right.
So I don't see him I don't see that making gains for them in Newcastle County.
And then finally, will this all be over on November 8th? We've heard Trump talk a lot about how things are rigged against him, and maybe he doesn't concede. Do you see a scenario where next week this will be going into Wednesday, Thursday, and beyond?
God willing, no. I think there's a Republican civil war that's coming. I think that party is in absolute disarray between the populist wing and sort of the corporatist wing, and I think that's going to take years, maybe even a generation to play out. I don't think it's going to be close enough that his concession or lack thereof is really going to matter.
I'd be curious, though, to see if it doesn't play out sort of like the Gordon-Matt Meyer race, where you've got the loser at the end of that race contesting it, or at least trying to find all sorts of ways to invalidate it. So I think he's hinted that he's probably going to do that.
Right, and regardless of what Trump does, there is going to be a legitimacy issue where many of his followers, that core base, that energized base, are not going to accept the legitimacy of the outcome if their guy doesn't win.
And I'm guessing we'll hear the lock her up chants through her presidency were she to win. We'll keep watching it. Thanks so much to Stephanie Hansen and Michael Stafford for once again joining us and sharing your thoughts. Check out the full state of play on newsworks.org/Delaware.